Live.
We're live.
Guys, I am talking to you today. Hold on a minute. I have to fix this because it's way too high. There we go. About Pluto. And this is a very important conversation. So, first of all, here comes 2018. Pluto is in Capricorn. It's been there. You can help me, Carrie. It's been there since, I want to say 2006. Is that true? Pluto is
I'll look it up.
Pluto is in the same sign. It's a very, very slow moving planet. Like we're talking about between 3 to 5 degrees a year, and it goes retrograde almost as much time as it's going direct. So Pluto moves very, very slowly. It affects you very, very deeply. We're going to go into a deep conversation about it, but I want you to know that particularly if you're a Capricorn, I think it's about 17, 18 degrees right now. Is that true? Or is it 21? That's a good question. I think I would know these things, for God's sake. Pluto is at the last quarter of Capricorn, and it is a direct influence on a Capricorn when it's exact degree. And as a beginner, you won't know what exact degree is, but today it's at 18 degrees. So if Pluto is, if you were born and the sun was at 18 degrees when you were born and you were a Capricorn, that would mean you were born somewhere about January 15th or January 12th, somewhere, and you got to go look it up. That means that you would be directly influenced by Pluto. And here's how it goes. Because it's so slow moving, in a whole year, it only moves between 3 and 5 degrees. It stays in one sign and at the same degree for so long that when Pluto comes and hits your sun, or it hits your rising sign, or it hits your moon, as an astrologer, this is when I can give predictions, when I can start to say to somebody, oh my God, Pluto's coming to get you, or when it hits your mind, Mercury, or it hits your Venus relationship. Pluto is the planet of major transformation, and it is the thing in the karmic life, because we all have karma in our life. It's the planet that affects karma, and it punches you. It's got this powerful effect. Now, let me describe why. We'll come back to the details of Pluto, but as a beginner, here's what I want you to do. I pretend that we have a cast of characters, because now we're at the last planet. And the cast of characters that we're playing with is the sun, you learned, was your personality, your ego. Then you learned about the moon. It was your emotional temperature, temperament, the inner world. Then it went to Mercury, how your thought process worked, what your mindset is. Then we went to Venus, what you love the most in life and where your beauty is and how relationships work. These are all these important areas of life. Then we went to Mars, the part of you that's so male and so directed and so wanting to be the goal-oriented, assertive part of you. Then we went to Jupiter, which is this planet of like, oh my God, so much fun. I think Jupiter's my favorite planet. Big and fat and jovial. Then we had Saturn, so serious, your old teacher. And then we went to Uranus. And that's when I said, stand in the mirror. Someone said, how do I find my Uranus? And I was like, stand in the mirror, hold up a mirror, look behind, and you'll see your Uranus. Oh my God. That was funny. Then we went to Neptune, and that was all about the dreamer, the mystic. Uranus, my point of Uranus was a little funny and eccentric. Neptune was the dreamer, the mystic, going off planet, not being related to this physical plane and being interested in dead people and the other levels and sensitivities. And now we're at Pluto. Pluto was found in the 1930s, right at the same time that Hitler, Freud, and Einstein were all dealing with the invisible world. So Hitler was dealing with this incredible unconscious mind that he collectively focused on to make everybody angry. The shadow of our unconscious mind was Hitler's function. He activated our shadow. He activated all these people's shadow. He triggered everyone into their fear factor, into their gremlins. Then he grabbed them and put them into a group think, which is very Plutonian. It's where you go unconscious and you become influenced by your inner world that is at worst the shadow. So he took the whole collective and moved them over to World War II, Germany, and had these people, fascists and controllers and Nazis, all operating under what was discovered at that time was Pluto energy, powerful nonverbal intensity. Also, Einstein was working in the same years, discovering that in the invisible world, at the smallest molecular level, there's this Plutonian energy, better known as nuclear energy, that could either destroy us or create. because Einstein had the ability to start to give us information. He was a very spiritual Pisces man, and he wanted the Plutonian energy to be this like resource of power, but it went destructive because this is the nature of Pluto. It's destructive. So you saw how Hitler used the collective unconscious to control us and make us all follow into the shadow. Einstein had this powerful access into the invisible world, and he understood there was this energy resource that we couldn't see, but it went one of two ways. And I've often thought about and read about what Einstein felt when he discovered that they were using his nuclear discovery to be destructive and turn it into a bomb. That was the last thing he had in mind. And what a disturbing and powerfully disappointing feeling it is for him to have created this Plutonian power of transformation, and it went down the wrong street. And then the third man that was working at this time was Freud in the 1930s. He was the first time we ever heard the word psychology. It didn't exist. And the first time we ever heard the word the unconscious. And Pluto rules the unconscious. So it rules this invisible part of the psyche. Let's talk about Freud's work. The unconscious mind is the one that says, I'm going to get you, scares you in your dreams, makes you not be able to get movement in your dreams, or you can't see in your dreams, or there's somebody chasing you in your dreams. Pluto rules Freud, the unconscious. He called the unconscious, ready? A cauldron of seething excitations, like this very murky unconscious that everyone, the id, he called it. So there's where Hitler got us. And there's where Einstein was betrayed, was the id, the unconscious component in everybody has a self-destructive element. And the nature of Pluto is to make yourself aware of your shadow. And this is the essence of all of my work with psychology, with astrology. Why would you take the class? Because you want to make your unconscious content available to you so you don't hurt yourself. You don't have a shadow. You don't deny people. You don't pretend. You don't lie. Pluto is the planet that can rule manipulation with intent. So it's evil. At worst, Pluto is the evil energy that we would use nuclear power to destroy the human form. Versus Pluto is the idea of the surgeon. It's rules surgery, that you can go in and you can cut something out for good. Like the tumor comes out of the body. It hurts to cut out the tumor, but the relief when the pressure is off of the body of having this unnatural object in the physical form. Scorpio, Pluto cuts it out. Pluto is rules Scorpio. So Pluto is the planet that faces your shadows. It talks about the unconscious. It admits that there's a shadow. I mean, if only somebody could have stood up and said to Hitler, you cannot control us with the dark. We are the light, and you will not have power, and to put him down. And so there is a war that occurs in the name of Pluto between evil and light, between light and dark, between good and bad, between happy and sad. Pluto really has the potential of destroying the illusion of Neptune, destroying the craziness of Uranus. Pluto trumps everything. I don't like using that word anymore. It's not funny. Look how I'm not being funny this morning. So Pluto rules the possibility of literally looking into your unconscious body, seeing what shadow it is you're carrying. And by the way, from a Jungian's point of view, the function of psychology is to make the unconscious conscious. So your childhood was a cauldron of seething excitations in your id. Your parents shape-shifted your whole system based on the karma of your childhood. Wherever your Pluto is, and we're going to look at that today, wherever your Pluto is, I know where you have passion for good, passion to get you super jazzed up, super excited, totally energized, or passion to destroy and to discreate and to really hurt you. Yeah, I'm thinking of where my Pluto is right now. It's so true. So Pluto has a very powerful potential of creation. It's the Shakti and Shiva. It's the Kali energy. It's Pele energy. It's the power energy that says, I will destroy in the name of creation. Does that make sense? Are you tracking? So Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008. It wasn't 2006. It's 2008 when Pluto entered, and it's going to stay there until 2024. And it's in the sign of Capricorn. So now let's apply that wild unconscious energy for the collective and see how we're feeling, how we're doing. It's in Capricorn. So since 2008, and that was right after the big dive that we took with our economy, And that was the entrance of Obama. And the economy went to shit. Pluto entered Capricorn, and this is what Pluto does. It takes the shadow of the whole structure of the, what was it called? Maggie May. What was the name of that thing in New York where they had all of the mortgages, and they had this whole system that was fake, where people were buying houses without the reality of their income. And it inflated the system so high that Pluto entered Capricorn and the thing came crashing down. Pluto is a gun. It destroys the illusions of Neptune with a hard push. In the tarot deck, there's two cards for Pluto and Scorpio, the Death card and the World. It's like the last card of the deck. Like Pluto is the make it or break it. So when Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008, our government, Capricorn is government, and Pluto is the shadow buster or the ghost buster or the whistleblower. Pluto rules whistleblowing. Like, I am never going to live with this anymore. We're calling it out. And it's not so much loud, because Pluto is not so much loud. It's just energetically, it's like, and so that whole thing blew up. Welcome to Pluto and Capricorn. Now, it's going to be there to 2024, but these 2 years are very important, 2018 and 19, because Saturn's in Capricorn and Pluto are in Capricorn. The two of them will be traveling together in 2018 and 19. And my prediction is Capricorn, the government, the structure of our society, the understanding of the male, the hierarchy, the ability for the male to think he was above it all is being dissolved. So it started with 2 months ago, when Jupiter entered Scorpio and Pluto's in Capricorn and Saturn's in Capricorn. We started this movement. The women have started a movement called Me Too. And on top of Time Magazine's cover, as of last month, the Person of the Year were a series of women who were whistleblowers. I just loved they used the Women of the Year during Saturn entering Capricorn and Pluto in Capricorn and Jupiter in Scorpio. Like, we're going to just destroy that old structure of the male holding down the fort and let the women have a voice. So Saturn and Pluto are coming together in 2018 and to 20, because Saturn will leave Capricorn in 2020, the end of 2020. But while Saturn and Capricorn are traveling together, you can make a societal assumption of how it will affect us. So this is really important, because one of the things that you're going to learn in the astrology class is, I'm trying to get this right, how does astrology affect you personally? Of course, that's our first question. Our egos are maniacs. We're starving. Where's Pluto for me, you're all asking? Pluto's in my second house. Pluto's in my third house. That's not relevant to start with. In order to learn astrology, you take it from the archetypical, then you apply it in the class when you study with me in the class to your personal chart. Where is your shadow? Where is your unconscious? What are you doing that you're afraid of? And then once you apply it to yourself, first you look at the society at large. Then once you apply it to yourself, the next stop you're going to have is, how does it apply to the people in my world? So people are asking right now, where is your Pluto and what house is it in? And how do you interpret it? If you guys would do, here's my invitation. This is what happens in the school. In the school, you get to do all your ego. The entire class, the first level of the class is built on your chart. What is affecting your chart? What's the timing of your chart? What's the flavors of your chart? The whole first level of level 1 is an entrance into self-discovery. And more importantly, it's kind of a Pluto session, because in the astrology class, level 1, you're transforming your old patterns by becoming aware of them. So the cool thing about level 1 in applied astrology is I knew how to get your interest, which was to study your ego. And we all have one, and it doesn't go away. Then comes level 2, where you learn how to give a reading to someone else. Now you're outside of yourself and you're thinking, how can I serve other people and give them this information? And you'll be really good at it if you have an intellectual appetite. And then level 3 is you get to come be with me in Hawaii or in Colorado. And that's the really, really fun part. So we're going to go through all the houses where Pluto sits in your chart. First, I want to back up and introduce you to Pluto. Very, very small. We've never been able to see it with the human eye, which is so simply fascinating to me, that Plutonian energy or nuclear energy that Einstein found is so minuscule. It's so small that he had to use a microscope and go into deep meditation and focus to get access to understanding that small nuclear power that existed in the invisible in such a small fashion, but there's nothing to be understated about size. So size has nothing to do with power. And the invisible world has tremendous power. That's what Einstein proved, but more importantly, that's what Freud showed us. Your unconscious mind is controlling you right now. You think your conscious mind is going to retain what I just said about Pluto? How many degrees a year does it move? Who remembers? When was Pluto found? Who remembers? But when I get to the part where I start talking about you personally, what house it's in, what sign it's in, then you're going to listen. I had a client come to see me. This is the most horrific story I think I've ever had in my whole career. Such a crazy story. She came in for a reading at a suggestion to be a gift because she, it appeared that she didn't have the money. I offered it as a gift because I heard someone very close to me suggested that she needed some help. And I said, yes. She arrived in my home and her story was this, that I'm going to give you the shortened abridged version because it's so Plutonian and so horrific. Pluto, remember, rules destruction and creation, the unconscious mind, evil. That's the nature of Pluto. Hitler, Freud, Einstein, invisible for good or for bad. She had just discovered she was pregnant. She went online on Craigslist to look for some children's clothes. She went to the person's house who was apparently going to sell them to her. She picked out some things, and as she was getting ready to leave, the person said to her, would you like to come downstairs? I have a few other things. Her intuition said, don't do it. She did it. She went downstairs, and this is where the horrific part, and I'm going to give you the abridged version because it's so terrible, but the woman attempted to kill this woman, my client, and did something horrific to her body. It's all over the news. I'm sure you could Google this. And she then turned into a hero, from my point of view, this woman, my client, because during this experience where she was left for dead, she called 911, got taken to the hospital, and obviously lost her child, but became a voice for compassion because her story was so remarkable in how she's processed, how she sought help, and how unbelievably compelling that story is for how evil it is and how extremely transformational the story became for my client, friend, beautiful woman who was able to lift up the dark Plutonian, because I'm only giving you 0% of the darkness of it. You can only imagine how horrible the story. And some of you read it. She was on, I want to say Dr. Phil, or she went public with the story. So I'm not discrediting or disclosing anything that she didn't tell already. I just want to use the Plutonian. Yes, she was a Scorpio. And this is Plutonian influence. Scorpios are an indirect access to Pluto. It shows up in your chart by looking at, which we're going to get to, what house it's in and what sign it's in. But if you have a storyline like that, where evil came to your house, where something was very dark, where you were sexually violated, this is very Plutonian, where you lost your light and you went to a dark night of the soul, very Plutonian. Anything to do with Pluto surgeries, where the body gets disfigured, scars, very Plutonian, where something was injured and it never left and it stays as a mark for you to be able to identify with. It's the death card. That was a marker. Death is always the marker for transformation. As soon as you say death arriving, it's a transformation. So let's just finish with that, and then I'm going to go into how it fits for each of you. The word transformation is directly related to Pluto. When you study with me, it's always funny because people will go, transformation, but what does that word mean? Like, some of you that are watching this today, you had transformation in your life. You started off in a childhood that was very abusive. I'm thinking of a Scorpio who's very famous, and she's used her story. She's a YouTube personality that came to work with me and did an intensive. I really liked her. Her story was so intense. It's in a book, so I'm not going to use her name, but one of her parts of her story was her family was so dysfunctional, and the kids that her and her brother and sister, the mom was schizophrenic, severe schizophrenic. So the kids would have to fend for themselves, and there was no food and there was no protection. And so she would lie when the police came to her house, when family services came, and say, she would dress up the kids and say, with the clothes that they had. And the story went, well, listening to her story, so unbelievable. Like at lunchtime, she learned how to go into the other kids' lunches and get like a cookie and an apple, and then she would put them down in front of her seat. And then when all the kids had lunch, she would trade with them because she couldn't get lunch without having to steal from the other kids' bags so she could have some food. This is very Scorpionic Plutonic. And she managed to come all the way out. Now we're at the word transformation. She's the blonde, beautiful, lighthearted. She's got this funny YouTube channel. There's literally 1 million people watch every week her channel, her sessions, her stories. And she turned a very dark, evil influence into a very light, effervescent transformation. That's what we mean when we say transformation. You start off one way and you end up another way. You start off as the caterpillar, you end up as a butterfly. You start off as a person who is a scientist, you end up as an astrologer who's a psychic. You start off as a person who is so shy and scared, you end up as an actress who's performing. You start off as an actress who's performing, is all about your ego. You end up as a mother who has 3 kids and never wants anyone to know what she did. I had one client, Scorpio. She wore these little glasses. I remember working with her. She was so pretty. When she would take off her little glasses and put her hair down and put outfits, she was a famous model. But when we met her in the group I was in, she didn't want anyone to know. That's Pluto. It's the transformation, the protection, the hiding, the illusion of, I don't want you to see my power because it's too big, so I'm going to hide. So any of you out there who feel like you're hiding your power, that Pluto somehow has given you a shyness or a self-consciousness about using the full expression, that's Plutonian energy. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go around the 12 houses and you're going to find out where Pluto is. And this will describe where your passion is. P for Pluto. Passion, power, those are the 2 words that go with it, and transformation. So in order for you beginners who've never looked at your chart before, and I hope there's lots of you watching today, you'll go to astro.com, astro.com, and click on the top left-hand corner. It'll say free horoscopes. Then once you click on there, you'll come down in the very top left-hand corner again. It says chart drawing. You click on that. And then when the chart drawing page comes up, you put in your birth date, time, and place, and the city, and then up comes your chart. And then on the chart, there's a blue box that's all in English, and you'll look for Pluto, which looks like a P. Pluto looks like this. And it'll say what degree and what sign it's in. And then in the middle of the chart, you'll see these numbers from 1 to 12. And you want to go find out what house P is in, because that's the house that I'll be describing right now. So let's go through the 12 houses. So obviously the chart is simply a picture of where the planets were when you were born. It's a photograph or a snapshot. They take a picture, they flatten the sky out, they take a picture of where the top 12 planets are. And then they describe each of those positions and the houses with different flavors, but that's all advanced. That's more like, you'll get that in level 1, but more importantly, I want you to stay here. Yeah, Veronica asked a great question about Pluto. Why do unfair types of things happen to good people? Just why? It's karma. Pluto is karma. Hold on, let me back up. You can write this down. Pluto is karma. It's where the tires hit the ground, where you're like face to face with this physical plane in a very harsh way, that there's like a big horn, like a trumpet saying, pay attention, wake up. And you're like, what? I didn't do anything. We just wanted to see what you're made out of, said Pluto. We want to know what your heart's made out of. We want to know what your skin's made out of. We want to see how thick your skin is. We want to see how strong you are. Pluto is the planet that forces us into the smallest sized room to be face to face with our own gremlins. So if Pluto's hitting your sun, your personality is going to go through big change. If Pluto's hitting your moon, your emotional body is going to go through big change. If Pluto's hitting your Mercury, your mind, your mental body. If Pluto's hitting your Venus, your whole nature of relationship just changed. And it can also be squaring it. It's not just conjunct. It can be opposite, but those are advanced conversations. I don't want to confuse you. Let's go through the houses. If Pluto's in the first house, you come with power. Use the words Pluto, power, passion, and transformation. If Pluto's in the first house, that rules the body. Your body has power and passion and transformation. It can go through big changes this life. If you have Pluto in the second house, you're financially, the second house rules money, you are powerful with money. Either you destroy it, you create it, you've got a powerful relationship with it. Pluto in the third house is your mental body. Third house is Gemini. Your mind is absolutely passionate about this topic of learning and studying, wanting to know about the dark, wanting to know about evil. I love that question, Veronica. If you have Pluto in the fourth house, your family may have been a very profound fourth house is Cancer, it's the family. It may have really stimulated this dark influence. It may have been abuse in your household. If you have Pluto in the fifth house, it means you've got this tremendous passion. Like you want to fall in love, and you either stay in love and you use that power, passion, and transformation, or you destroy it and you shut your heart down. Some people don't keep their hearts open in their life. Okay, if you have Pluto in the fifth house, that rules the heart. I did that. If it's in the sixth house, it's your health. So some people that have Pluto in the sixth house really have to deal with health issues, or they're passionate about nutrition and food and gardening, and they're really interested in the practical world of healing. Pluto gives you passion. If Pluto's in the seventh house, your relationships have come to transform you. That's not an easy placement. That there may be a death. Pluto in the seventh of a partner, Pluto in the seventh, you are so passionate about relationship. You found a passionate partner. It's not always bad. Please don't make Pluto bad. I always wish we had a cartoon, Carrie, right now. The Pluto, the little cartoon character. Pluto in the eighth house is a natural placement. It's where it belongs. It's the death card in the house of death. So these are people who feel much more comfortable with death and dying, with hospice, with surgeons, with deep psychological conversations. Pluto in the eighth house, very natural placement. This whole conversation about transformation is very comfortable to you. Pluto in the ninth, you have come to completely transform, transmute, powerfully address religion. The ninth house rules religion. It's Sagittarius. If it's in your 10th house, and I think Heavenly asked this, that's really powerful. It's a influence of your career, and you have a very intense appetite to keep your career going, but it can be a destructive influence. It doesn't always mean it's easy. That your career you're fixated on it. You're obsessed with it. I have Pluto in the 11th. Pluto in the 11th is a passion for astrology. 11th house rules astrology. A passion for groups of people. Fascinated with groups of people, and also, has a negative effect. I can't be in groups of people. It's so hard on me. It's like I'm around groups of people, and my Pluto gets nervous. I'm gonna start to use my power for good or for bad. I might just push them all away. But Pluto in the 11th is definitely a fascination with astrology. Carrie, me too. Pluto in the 12th, a powerful relationship with the dream time, with an incredible access to your unconscious mind. Very strong dreamer. And scary, a little bit scary. Pluto in the 12th, they scare themselves. There's one really good question Heavenly asked. What about Nassau? Someone described Nassau for me as never a straight answer. That is so funny. Nassau said Pluto wasn't a planet. It was 100 astronomers in a room together, I want to say 10 years ago, and they demoted Pluto. Really? It's like we wanted to deny our shadow. Like the scientists were like, no, we're not dealing with that energy. Well, good luck with trying to tell Pluto to go away. Joanne, if you don't know what time you were born, it's hard to know what house Pluto's in. However, here's the last piece because we're almost done. Pluto stays in one sign. Like here it is, Pluto from 2008 to 2024. How many years is that? About 13. Pluto stays in one sign for a long time. And that's because it's so slow. Pluto moves a degree and it goes backwards. And then it moves forward too, and it goes. So it stays in the, I always think of like the sun and the moon are going, the moon goes like this. Woo, woo, woo. The moon goes through all 12 signs in a month. Pluto goes 3 degrees in a month. Get it? Slow, cold, invisible, impossible to see. Am I talking about your unconscious? You don't even know what's in your unconscious mind, but it's the sabotager. Pluto will sabotage you and break your reality into small pieces to make you conscious of your unconscious. That's its function. It's Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Okay, we did it. Exactly 30 minutes. Carrie, is there anything you want to add?
I don't think so. That was awesome. I put the link for the Applied Astrology School in the comments. So if you liked this conversation, make sure you click and give us your information. So we'll tell you first when the school opens.
And did you guys know the school? What do you mean? Oh, the early birds. Only the early birds are allowed to sign up?
Right.
Are there any early birds out there? Tweet, 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 tweet. This class, if you're interested in learning astrology, because I am just whetting your appetite. I feel like I'm, you know, those striptease acts where the girls like they do all that little sexy dancing. Pluto rules sex. I didn't say that. All that sexy dancing, and then they leave the room and they're like, what? That's what I'm supposed to be doing with these little short Facebook lives. I'm teasing you. Because in the school you learn way more. And yes, Joanne, they tried to discredit Pluto. In the school you learn way more. And let's just really validate Pluto. If you can become friends with Pluto, if you welcome your unconscious mind, if you study psychology and you're interested in facing your gremlins and you really do the psychological work for real, this is the planet that will help you quit addictions. Pluto is relentless. It's like, it's a life or death matter. So when people say they want to quit an addiction, it's usually because they've been face to face with a bottom line. They hit bottom. They got really vulnerable. Something broke in them. And then Pluto comes in and says, we're going to do transformation. I got to tell you this one funny story. So I was giving birth. I was in the beginning of my water breaking, and I had a friend walking with me, and I said to her, whenever I'm in too much pain, I want you to say transmutation, because transmutation is different than transformation. Transformation is a slow process where this caterpillar, it eats its organs, it lives inside that cocoon, it stays in that process, and then eventually it turns into a butterfly. Or transformation is you go to psychology, you do your therapy, you examine yourself with the reflection of another, you're humbled in the presence of the other, and then eventually you notice patterns change. But transmutation is you eat the poison live time. So I'm giving birth, I'm in the labor phase, and she says, she keeps saying transformation. When I'm like, I scream at her, transmutation. You can't use transformation when you're in pain. You have to eat the poison. You have to go straight through the pain. You have to go, when you're in a dark phase of your life, the only way out is through. You can't go around it. You can't wait for it. You got to go straight in and go, okay, this addiction, I'm going to cut. This relationship, I'm going to cut. You have to really be so strong and committed. So, having said that, Pluto is coming to get you, Mr. and Mrs. Capricorn. It's at 18 degrees. It will only move. So I'd love to know, Carrie, 18 degrees. Let's see. Here's how you figure out the degrees. If you're born the first degree of Capricorn on December 21st, then if you move 1 degree a year, by December 29th, that's 8 degrees. By December 31st, that's 11 degrees. By 11 plus 7, by January 7th, if your birthday is January 7th, you probably were born with the sun at 18 degrees, and you're somebody that's got Pluto sitting exact degree in your sun. This is technical. I don't want to confuse you. I just want you to hear this. The planets move very slowly when you're talking about Pluto. Your chart stays the same for your whole life. Once you have a birth chart, they take a photograph. It's a still life. It's like kerplunk. I wish it was on your forehead and I could see your chart. After that, the chart stays the same, but the planets keep moving. And when Pluto comes and hits one of your planets, you're in for transformation. And I can't tell you how strong it is. So you might want to pay attention. Happy New Year. Love to all of you. Thank you for watching this Facebook Live. This is the end of the series. The school cart is opening January 24th. The starcommunity.com is the cheap version of being able to become a member. It's $22 a month, and we do every month the full moon, the new moon, the retrogrades, the big changes that are coming. And that's it. There's the class starting twice a year in January and then again in September. There is the Star Community all year round, starcommunity.com. You can come and join us. And then I have a lot of really well-trained astrologers that go through my school. If you go to my website, Debra Silverman Astrology, you click under work with me. My certified astrologers are excellent and they're half the price and they have a way more open schedule than me. So if you want a reading and you want to know where your Pluto is and just do a reading about Pluto, call one of these professional astrologers I've trained and say, can you talk to me about Pluto? And then Goofy said to Minnie, do we have to keep talking about Pluto all the time? Can't we just go on now and go visit Disneyland? I'm sick of Pluto. Thanks, you guys. Happy New Year.